Omaha Board of Directors, and I co-chair the American Advertising Awards Committee with my Omaha co-chair, Lorraine Hueser from Bailey Lowerman. This year, we're working with AAF Lincoln, Jen Landis and her crew to produce the local American Advertising Awards Nebraska competition. So AAF Omaha has been offering professional development programs, webinars, thought leadership, and other activities for our members virtually for the past 8 months. And we're going to continue to offer virtual programming in the coming months and anticipate getting back to in-person events. It says in my script after the first of the year. I think we'll see about that. But whenever we feel it's safe for our members to gather following the CDC guidelines. So if you haven't already, grab your lunch and let's going to get started on today's panel discussion. So during the discussion today, please feel free to use the chat or the Q&A functions. We'll have our panelists answer your questions throughout their discussion or save your questions for the end of the presentation. So AAF Omaha, this is the other sales message that I get to read here. AAF Omaha is the unifying voice for advertising in the Omaha Council Bluffs metropolitan area. We offer an organization to educate, inspire, and bring an inclusive sense of community to advertising professionals in our area so that we and future generations can continue to do the work we love. Events like today's panel discussion are free to our members and as a member benefit. Our board of directors and active committees have been working to bring more value and benefits to your membership throughout the year. Our members have opportunities to meet new people, engage with experts, and receive professional development opportunities through educational programming offered monthly. We've continued successfully to engage our membership in the Nebraska advertising community throughout the pandemic. As many of you are preparing to enter the American Advertising Awards, we've collected a panel of agency leaders to share their knowledge and insights on how to enter the American Advertising Awards, how winners are selected, how to choose the work you want to enter, and to give you a good understanding on how you can take home a Gold ADDY. And I think it's time to introduce our panel. So thank you all for joining us, and make sure you recognize yourself, wave to us when I think. So we'll start with Dan Cooper, Creative Director at Bozell. Laura Spaulding, Manager of Corporate Communications at Bozell. Lisa Lorraine, Executive Vice President, Director of Creative Development with Swanson Russell. Jase Hueser, Designer at Pentogram. Lisa Conklin, Senior Media Buyer Planner with Firespring. Daryl Anderson, Creative Director at Clark Creative Group. So let's start with Lisa. Will you please, Lisa Conklin, sorry. Will you please introduce yourself, tell our attendees a little bit about yourself, your involvement with AAF District 9 and the American Advertising Awards.
Sure. Hi, my name is Lisa Conklin. I'm actually a past AAF Omaha president, and I'm now serving on the District 9 board as First Lieutenant Governor. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a little bit, but today I want to make sure you know that this is more than just a local or state advertising competition. The American Advertising Awards is the advertising industry's largest competition that exists. The mission is to recognize and reward the creative spirit of excellence in the art of advertising. Nearly 35,000 entries come in every year from local AAF competitions, just like the one we are discussing today. So entry in your local competition is the first step toward winning a national ADDY. The annual national competition actually has 3 tiers. The first one is the local level competition completed by each AAF local club. In that, entrants vie to receive an ADDY Award, which is recognition as the very best in their market. The second tier is the district level of competition. Nebraska is part of District 9, along with AAF clubs in Missouri, Iowa, and Kansas. In the district level, gold and silver awarded entries from the local Nebraska competition go on to compete with gold and silver entries awarded from the other competitions in our district. There are 15 AAF districts, by the way. So I just completed a year of serving as the American Advertising Awards chair for District 9. In that role, I organized the district tier of the competition, which included working with clubs to get local gold and silver entries to the district judging competition, securing qualified judges, and managing the district judging process with the D9 board and dedicated volunteers. And forwarding District 9 winners to compete with all the other district winners in the national tier of the competition, which is the third and final tier. So through all that and through my time as president of the Omaha Club, I was actually lucky enough to attend the National Advertising Awards presentation in Ad America in Chicago a few years ago. It was very exciting to see our Midwest companies and peers recognized in the same competition and categories as Procter & Gamble and other large companies. In the chat, we will post a link to the 2020 national winners so that you can get a feel for what I mean. As you listen today, know that entering the American Advertising Awards supports the entire advertising industry because the AAF and its local and district affiliates use the proceeds to enhance advertising through a lot of different programs such as public service, internships, advocacy groups, advertising education, consumer awareness, scholarships, mentoring programs, and diversity and inclusion efforts. Your district leaders, like myself and the rest of the district board, are here if you have any questions. I recommend you visit aaf.org and see all the resources at the American Advertising Awards page, including competition rules and categories. We'll get those links in the chat as well. Thank you.
Laura Spaulding, tell us all about yourself.
Everything?
Oh, hell no.
Too long. I'm Laura Spaulding. I work at Bozell. I'm a manager of corporate communications, similar to Lisa. I'm a former president of the local AAF Omaha chapter as well. At Bozell, I've been entering the ADDYs for close to a decade. So I've got a little bit of experience with the ADDYs. And as Lisa mentioned, the AAF competition does start on the local level. So here in Nebraska, the American Advertising Awards, which is now called, is actually now open. So you all can do it today. Yay, clap, clap, clap. All you have to do to find the online entry, I'm gonna take over the screen. I'm gonna try to, attempt to. But all you have to do to, oh, wait for it. Got it? Any head nods? David Moore, looking at you. Okay. All you have to do is go to getthegreenlight.co. And again, we will share that link and have it everywhere. But when you go to this page, it has everything that you need in order to get started and to start entering. So if you scroll down, you can start browsing all of the categories for either the professional division or the student division and decide what categories you feel like your work fits into and start from there. Once you decide what you want to enter, you can just simply click the submit an entry button and it'll take you to our formal page. This is similar to what it'll look like across the country, but this is Nebraska's page. And you will need to sign up for this page if you haven't already. So if you're new to entries, you'll have to, username, login, that kind of thing. But once you're in, as you can see, I am in. This is what your homepage will look like. It'll kind of give all the information that you need. And after all of this COVID warning and explanation of how it's going to work this year with COVID-19, you can just click an entry. So at Bozell, we don't really have students, so we usually do a professional entry. And it'll take you to just a form. It's very simple. All you have to do is fill it out. Most things are required, as you can see, but basic information. And then because you've already decided what category you're going to be entering, all you have to do is keep going down the list, one thing at a time. Once you open something, other questions might pop up, but it should be pretty simple as you go through the process. And I'm going to just fill out an entire online form in case anyone is interested on how this works. I know that we have several people here that are going to get into more details on entering, but this is just the online form. It's very easy, simple, nothing, ooh, wait for it. Yes, I do have a website. It's called this one. And then you just have to upload one file for their website one. Other entries will have different kinds of file requirements, and I think Daryl gets into that next. But you just have to upload what you want and what you need. And I think that this is going to be it. This is the end of the line. Wait for it. I probably should have picked a smaller image, huh? David. And then hit save. Look at that beautiful website. You can enter credits if you want to. Give people their dues for working on the work that they did, and then just add it to the cart. That's all it is. Information saved. Good to go. And there it is. And that's all it took. So, I mean, it's all basic information. It shouldn't take too long. It's pretty simple. It's all online this year, which is super nice. So that's a very simple, I think, walkthrough of that. This year's deadlines, I think you guys are going to go back to the PowerPoint to show the deadlines this year. But the deadlines this year, the early bird deadline is December 30th. So trying to get it in before the end of the year will save you some dollars. But the drop dead deadline is January 6th. This is so that we can get judges and all kinds of things squared away. So that drop dead deadline is a hard deadline that you'll want to hit. You'll save dollars if you do the early bird, and you will also save dollars, fun fact, if you are a member. Members save about $40 to $45 on entries, depending upon whether it's early bird or drop dead. And becoming a member isn't too expensive. I think it's about $100. So 3 entries would give you a savings of about your membership. So maybe consider becoming a member if you are not already, especially if you're going to be entering more than a couple American Advertising Awards entries this year. I want to say ADDYs, but it's not. So in addition to the benefits of the dollar savings on the entries, you will get all the benefits of being a member by signing up with a member as well. So as Lisa said, this is a national organization. It's the unifying voice of advertising. There's a lot of benefits to being a member. So look into that, but saving dollars on your award entries is one of them.
Excellent. Daryl, you're going to talk more about yourself and how we actually enter stuff this year.
Thank you, David. Hi, I'm Daryl Anderson. I am creative director for Clark Creative Group here in Omaha. I am also now serving as president for the Ad Federation of Omaha. This is I believe my 6th year on the board, and happy to be a part of this fantastic team. Thank you all for joining us. To new entrants and to returning entrants, I hope some of this year's information will be useful to you because of the pandemic. One thing, of course, that is new this year, no drop-offs in Nebraska. Yay. Whoop, whoop. So there's no pesky printing. There's no pesky printing out of registration forms and pasting little tags on the back of all your work and driving it out to West Omaha or some other odd place and doing all of that. So how can you beat that? For a year anyway. So the biggest thing is to make sure that you go through your rules and regulations and see if perhaps there is a required physical entrance. For first level here in Omaha and Lincoln and surrounding area, really shouldn't need any. As they said, projects that receive gold will require a physical submission, and that drop off will be decided at a later date after the American Advertising Awards. If you have a silver, you will pay to forward that on if you won't so choose to do so. Golds are free through the AdFed Club to go on to nationals. So one thing different this year is categories 1 through 19 and 92 through 93, which involves various components of print medium. You're going to be allowed to upload multiple files to demonstrate a product. And this year they're actually allowing a video. So that gives 3D components an opportunity to be handled, to kind of show tactile qualities, and explain it a little bit as well, since people can't handle open, feel, touch a product or entry. So that video can be up to 3 minutes long, under 1 gigabyte, and 250 words or less, just like a written submission component to your entry. And of course, visual components and video components cannot have any identifying factors. Don't show your face, don't show any logos, don't show school logos. Just like a normal submission, it needs to be fairly much, it needs to be unidentifiable. So this is an example of a multi-component product that you can take multiple pictures of and upload. Or you could also do a video. What you're trying to do is show as much of the functionality of your pieces as you possibly can. And like I said, you can do multiple photos. I think in some areas you can submit up to 5. I'm going to take over screen share now. Wait for it. Can everybody see that? Get a nod. Cool. So here you can see I'm in a registration page for one of the categories of print. Here you have your main file to choose from to upload maybe the entire component. Here are sub areas that you can put other angles of photography of the component in, or here down below, you can add your video. And I think that is really about it for my end. If you have any questions, please put them into the question and answer segment.
Excellent. Thank you, Daryl. I'm going to ask Jase Hueser to talk a little bit now. And Jase is, I'll brag for him because he probably won't do it. He's a multiple year award winner in the American Advertising Awards on local, regional, and national level, who now has a real job. So hopefully he's going to talk a little bit about what the student competition did for him and why he did it. So take it away, Jase.
Thanks, David. Yes, a real job, even though I still feel like a student every day. But I can offer a little bit of perspective on the student submission process, or at least what my experience was. As Dave mentioned, I was incredibly honored at the Nebraska level with reception of awards in 2019, 2018, and then also at the national level. And Lisa mentioned the Chicago Awards that took place a couple years ago, and I was also able to go to that with, give a little shout out to Greg Dakey, a little support from Dakey. I was interning there at the time, but it was a great opportunity to see my work among everyone else across the nation, and then across the state as well at the Nebraska level. There's something that wonderful about that, because you often in class can get kind of siloed and start comparing your work to students that are with you in the same building week in and week out. And so to actually kind of pressure test work with judges outside of campus and outside of the state is such a wonderful thing to have. I think that, you know, like as a student too, it's a great opportunity to get a taste for what professionals are looking for and what is considered to be the most impactful in design work. I mean, all of the panelists, or all of the judges rather, are those working day in and day out in the professional community. And so naturally their eye is going to be kind of refined to what works in the real world. And so as soon as, like I said earlier, as soon as you get out of the classroom and start to analyze work in that capacity, I think it's kind of eye-opening for students. And it's a great opportunity for that. As far as the type of work that I chose to submit, I found I'm naturally just a more digitally inclined person. So I would have loved this year not having to mount my work onto the boards and submit that. So I do envy everyone for that. But so a lot of my work leans more towards the digital front, but I think it's really important to, like I tried to submit packaging related material and print along with identity or motion graphics. And I think, you know, at this stage in a student's life, it's good to be experimenting with all of that and to use an awards system to kind of test those different strengths and weaknesses. I think is great. And the work that I think did the best usually was that which involved more than just one element. So like, rather than just submitting a logo, and maybe some of the other panelists can agree or deny what I'm about to say, but rather than just submitting a logo, it was always so much more successful to submit a logo with a system involving it, you know, applications with the logo. So there were some projects that we worked on in class that maybe didn't have the logo in situ on a website or on some type of brochure. But if you have the time, it might be good to kind of explore that for the awards to kind of expand on a system. I think too that that, like I said earlier, the type of work, it's really important too to kind of test out new ideas and techniques that you're working on in class, and you'll get a lot of feedback from that. But there's some just initial thoughts I have on the student perspective. I know it's maybe a little different for the professional, and as I said, I still feel like a student, and part of my time at UNK, I graduated in 2019. Part of the greatest memories I have are things associated with AAF and being able to kind of experience this broader perspective, and it was a great opportunity. So I highly encourage any students that are watching to submit work and see how it does.
Thank you, Jase. So now, Lisa Lorraine, will you introduce yourself and then tell us a little bit about not only why you enter the American Advertising Awards, because we all locally here know that your agency seems to consistently do very well, but tell us your opinion, the value overall of creative awards. Why should we do this?
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, David. Thanks for having me. As you said, my name's Lisa Lorraine, and I'm the Director of Creative Development at Swanson Russell. So what that means is in addition to some of my client responsibilities, one of my other core responsibilities is really trying to strengthen our overall creative product at the agency. And some of that's related to staff development and process improvements. But there's a huge part of that that's focused on self-reflection at the agency. We pride ourselves in understanding and trying to understand why a piece of creative was effective. And part of that process involves shows like this one. So it's really hard to quantify the value of award shows, because believe me, for over 50 years, I think we've tried to figure it out. But our history of participation in this show has given us a lot of really good perspective. And you asked, why do we feel it's valuable? Why does Swanson Russell continue to participate? And there's a couple of reasons. First, we feel there's a lot of value for our clients to get recognized for the work that's done on their behalf and with their help. They're often focused on the business results of a campaign or a project, which is really important, probably the most important thing, but we love seeing the work that we help them produce, the work that we collaborate with them on, getting recognized for its true kind of creative merit. So most often the client's impact is all over the work as well. So it's really gratifying to see them sharing the excitement about being recognized for a win from a show like this. Second, entering award shows keeps us engaged with what's going on in the industry at a local and regional and national level. It's really exciting to see the work being done by our peers, everybody on this call, everybody in the state. So we look forward every year to sort of sitting back and really recognizing and celebrating the work that's been done in the community. So that's really fun. But lastly, part of our agency culture is built on showcasing and celebrating the work of our staff. And that effort goes into, I mean, if you think about it, the amount of effort, I should say, that goes into every project is tremendous. And with the pace that exists within this industry, it's hard, if not at times impossible, to really press pause and sit back and celebrate what we've been able to accomplish. You finish one job, you're off to the next, or even in the midst of another one. It's this perpetual cycle of go, go, go. And so staying involved in this particular show year after year is really a reminder for us and a milestone for us to stop. Let's take a look at what we've done. Let's sit back, let's celebrate it. Let's shine a spotlight on the work that has been put forth by our staff, and let them, see the recognition and celebrate, all that's positive about it. And whether that work wins or it doesn't win, either way, the process of going through this and really taking a moment to reflect and letting our employees reflect about the work that they've been doing and the work that their peers at the agency has been doing is really important to us. And so we keep that as a standing reminder to just take a time out and make sure that we're sitting back and really enjoying the process and getting to celebrate the work of everybody at our agency.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lisa, and good luck again this year. We're all getting tired of hearing your name over and over and over every damn year. Anyway, let me go in real quick. We have actually have a question and the question and answer from Anthony asking Jase. So how did you turn your student awards into currency in your job hunt? Did you get any feedback from judges? Maybe talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, currency, what a great way to phrase that. Currency for the job hunt. Obviously, anytime I was putting my name forward for a potential position, I subtly maybe slipped the accolades that went along with the work as well. But even before then, I think that the exposure gained from AAF was crucial to having to starting discussions with people who were maybe looking to fill a position or just wanted to learn more about me and my work. So, there's just that inherent factor of the awards program giving exposure to students, because again, the judges are sitting here, professionals within the community, and also the attendees who are also submitting work then get to see student work come across the screen and fill the booklets of the winners. But I think too, it also gives a little bit of confidence in some of your work. Even just showcasing, even if you don't get an award or a medal, just the fact of putting your work among other people kind of builds up some confidence in displaying and showing your work. And so if you don't have that confidence when you're applying for a job, obviously you won't get far. So I think it's really important too to even use the awards to try that out. As far as feedback goes, I know like at the event, for instance, David came up and mentioned a few comments about a piece, but I don't remember if there is direct feedback given. Maybe you're shaking your head no, David. Yeah.
No, usually not.
So I guess you just have to take a guess on the good and bad. But no, I think, afterwards I would talk to professors about what might have been the thing that helped in a particular instance or hurt a certain project. So definitely can still use the results as a way to gauge things, but also keeping in mind too that the results don't dictate the work all the time, right? Like, while it's great to have a a panel of judges validate your work, you can't, beat yourself up over the results, because ultimately there's, a ton of factors that go into things, and there's always room for improvement, even for those that do well, and equally those that don't do as well.
Well, thanks, Jason. I can tell you, see, the way that the AAF does it, the student judging is judged by judges here on the local level, professional judges. And I can tell you that when the judges go through, they notice who's doing what, and the names pop up, and those names get shared. Like, oh, you need to look at this person, this person, this person. So that's good. And just, well, before we move on, Laura or Daryl, do you have anything else to add about the value of advertising awards, and why do you spend the money to do it? What's the point?
I'm gonna pretty much echo exactly, what Lisa had said. We kind of look at the same exact perspectives. First and foremost, it's for our clients. Not only do we see it as recognition of the collaboration between the two, but it's also, we see it as building relationships and making those relationships stronger with the client. We also see it as a public relations opportunity for them when they win, and also for their social media aspects. It's definitely for our designers and team members to energize them and keep them inspired and doing strong work that they know that they can push forward into the awards and get some recognition for themselves as well as for the agency. And then of course, just the work itself. Work speaks for itself. So it's perfect for references, building sales, and just recognition of your agency, school, or self.
Laura?
I'm going to add one thing, because I completely and 100% agree with everything that is said. But from an AAF supporter perspective, it's also just the largest fundraiser of the year for an organization that all agencies and all marketing professionals depend on. We, as professionals in this, I guess, area, we depend on AAF Omaha for a lot of things, whether we know it or not. They lobby for what we need on a government level. They provide camaraderie amongst the industry. They provide a lot of opportunities for learning and professional development and participation, for service, for community outreach. And all of these things can't happen if, as a nonprofit, they don't have some dollars to put toward these things. And the American Advertising Awards is the largest fundraiser of the year. And so with my AAF hat on, I also think that agencies and marketers and businesses and schools and all of that need to support AAF. And this is a great way to do that because of all of the things that Lisa and Daryl talked about. So that's my only one add-on.
Thank you. So now we're going to move into Mr. Dan Cooper. And the big question I have for you, I want to know how you actually choose the stuff you enter, how you sort through it. But to add on to what the script was, is how do you know if your work is award winning? I mean, because we're asking a group of random humans to judge this, and
right,
it's entirely subjective. So how do you know? What's your guide?
Oh my gosh, great questions. Well, just starting off, I'm Dan Cooper. I'm a creative director at Bozell. I was fortunate enough back in 2013 to be an ADDY's co-chair, and I know firsthand how much work goes into it. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to David and Lauren and the whole AAF board just for everything that they do, because it is a thankless job and it's so much appreciated. So thank you guys all for what you do. Going back to that, it's, oh my gosh, it's tough, because honestly, like sometimes you think, oh, a judge would love this, and then you realize, judges don't love this. So it's really subjective, and you really never know. You just kind of have to trust your gut and your instincts on it. I will say, when it comes to determining things, usually like the best plan would be to all year round kind of have a ongoing list of things as you finish them that you think, okay, this project, this campaign, this might be award worthy, and kind of keep track of that way. But knowing how crazy this year has been, we probably all haven't been doing that. So one of the things that we like to do is, I get together with another creative director at Bozell. We kind of put our thinking hats on together and just kind of work to fill out some sort of shared Google sheet or something like that, where we just kind of itemize all the things that we can think of. We kind of list out what the client was, what the name of the project was, and start thinking about what category they could potentially fit in. And so that's kind of a good first step, just to kind of lay everything out that we can think of. Oftentimes after that, we'll connect with the rest of the team and see, can you guys think of anything that we left out? I think one thing that's important is that you don't have to just enter one thing into a single category. Some of the things that we've done both here at Bozell and at Bailey Lauerman, where I was previously, was kind of think through, okay, can we enter things separately and then as a campaign? But also think about the elements of advertising category, which is really important as well. If there's a specific part of a project or a campaign that you want the judges to pay special attention to, think about if you have like a video that you put together, but you're really proud of the animation style that was used, there's a separate category for that. Or even like copywriting, if you are really pleased with how a website turned out, but you are really impressed with the copy that was part of it, that could be something to consider as well. So, part of it's just thinking like, what are our best projects as an agency? How can we enter those into categories that make sense and boost the chance for those to get recognition? But also think about maybe some of the categories that don't get entered as often. If you can find something that makes sense for those often overlooked categories, that's one tactic to think about as well. So as far as, what makes the best quality product, I think one unique advantage of the American Advertising Awards, aka ADDYs, is that judges kind of get to see the work just like a consumer would. Like, you don't have any of that outside information going into it. They get to react to it exactly as it is. And I think that above anything, this competition really values the creativity and the memorability of things. So as Jase was saying earlier, if you can show things in context, if you can show more of a creative idea, like design work is great and that gets its recognition, but if you can kind of show how it's part of a larger whole, or you can kind of show how it all works together, or the innovative way that you kind of tackled that project or that campaign creatively, that usually is really well received by judges. And I think that kind of thinking is appreciated. And I think, one thing this year is that, if you have the opportunity to add a video to things or add a description to things, a little bit of that background will help out as well. The one last thing I wanted to add, Laura was talking about how this is, the biggest fundraiser of the year for AAF. I think, everything going on, there's concerns and stuff, but think about, okay, if you're saving money by not having to print things, you're saving money by not having to buy those gigantic manila envelopes or plastic bags and stuff, like reinvest that into a few more entries this year. So just creative ways to think about it. But, this is, I always joke that like ADDY's season is one of my favorite times of the year. And it just so happens to line up with the holidays as well. So a lot to be thankful for this year. But it all goes to a good cause. Think about it in the way of this: like you're supporting AAF, and you get the added benefit of maybe getting an award out of it too. So hopefully that helps with everybody. But I'm really excited to see what happens this year, and excited to see things happening more digitally as well.
Excellent, thanks, Dan. So
yeah,
I have a question. Let's throw it at Dan and or Lisa. So I've been judging and I've supervised a lot of judging. So it comes down to, what do you look for? What do you think is most important? Because you guys have judged, is it craft or concept? What makes a winning entry to you guys?
Lisa, do you want to take this one first, or would you like me to?
I'm not sure which Lisa that was directed at, David. We got two Lisas.
Sorry about that. You.
Me. Okay. I was so confused by the Lisa. Remind me of the question again.
So when you're judging work, are you more interested in looking at the craft or at the concept? And I'll give you an example. I've judged in some smaller markets where maybe the craft level wasn't there, but there was somebody who had an idea. They just didn't have the budget to execute it, but they tried. There was a piece we did in somebody in Iowa and something that I judged, and they had Barbie and Ken dolls. acting it out in a TV spot. I mean, that's what they had. And there was a great idea at work. And other places I've seen where somebody has incredible craft, where they spend so much effort, but it's empty, it's shallow. There's no real idea. So what do you think? Where do you go?
I guess I'd answer that by saying it probably is dependent on, you know, the category in which it's being entered, right? You have to use that to kind of guide how it might be judged. I mean, our philosophy at Swanson Russell is that everything kind of starts with that idea that's baked in there. So for us, maybe it's because that's sort of been just banged into my head for so many years, that part really always kind of trumps the other side. But you know, your ideas aren't presented well. Even if there's a deep concept, it can be easily dismissed if the care and the craft isn't attached to it. So I don't want to say it's a cop out to probably say both to a degree, but if I had to inch one out, I'd probably say concept is and the thinking that goes into it probably edges out by a slight margin. But I think they are both really, really important.
I would tend to agree. And I think, you know, to me, the concept is the most important because that's oftentimes what I see most lacking. You know, I feel like execution, like they do a good job of teaching that in school and stuff, and you get better over the years as well. I do think though that execution puts things over the edge. So if there's two really good concepts and one is much better, much more refined in this execution, that would probably be the thing that would stand out. That being said, you know, one great thing about the ADDYs is that there are some things that are strictly focused on design or execution, to Lisa's point as well. So it does depend, but I would tend to agree that concept is the thing that draws me in first, and then the execution is the thing that puts it over the top.
Great. Anybody else want to lob in an answer on that? Daryl or Jase or the other Lisa or Laura, any thoughts? Okay, sounds like no. So it was thinking about last year's judging, and something that we did different in this last year of 2020 anyway, is we allowed the judges to see all of the work ahead of time. Because we flew our judges in, we were doing, you know, in-person judging, flew them in ahead of the weekend. So it's on Friday night, we had all of the work on display. So they weren't actually judging it, but they were able to see it in context. Because what has happened in the past sometimes in judging is the judges are harder or a little easier in the beginning until they get a feel for what the local market is. And that's an advantage of the American Advertising Awards being done at a local level here as on a Nebraska level, is you're being judged against other Nebraska work. You're not being judged against the work where if you have a judge who is from Chicago or, you know, LA or someplace like that who has a different standard, they're able to see the local level. So that was really useful. The other thing that did, it speaks to, I think, something that Dan mentioned, where you can enter the work in more than one category. So what happens is the judges start to see it and recognize it as part of a bigger, broader piece. So for example, last year, Swanson Russell's Omar the Troll, they were able to see that work roll out immediately over all of the different executions of it. So that gave it a lot of value. So that speaks strongly to, if you've got something that's good, and find every place that you can to enter it, because it'll increase not only the chances of winning in a particular category, but it also can strengthen your piece because the judges can see it as part of something bigger. So anybody else have any comments on that?
I just wanted to add one thing real quick. Knowing that judging can be subjective, I would definitely encourage people, if you wind up getting a silver in the Nebraska level, to still forward those on, because I've seen multiple times where something will get a silver at Nebraska ADDYs and then get like a judge's citation or a gold at the regional ADDYs, or the same thing when it goes on the national. So knowing that like, you kind of have to have confidence in your work, and maybe it does cost a little extra to forward on the silvers, but I would definitely recommend doing that, because that can definitely pay off in the future when it comes to strategy entering the awards.
I think yes, I'm going to echo that. I've seen it happen both ways, where something gets best of show at the local level and wins nothing at another level, or vice versa, just barely ekes out a silver and gets, you know, top awards at regional or national. It's because judging is subjective. We've got these 3 judges or these 5 judges. It's their opinion. That's, you know, and you forward it on to the next level, you get a completely different set of opinions. So I'm going to ask another question for all of our panelists to lob in. Yes, we want to enter the AAF awards because it helps AAF. You know, we need the finances, we need the money. It's a great fundraiser. But how do you make a decision from a business standpoint? What is the value in the awards? How do you decide? Do you set a budget at the beginning of the year and say, we're going to spend this much? Do you just look at the work and the creative director brings it to you and says, I want to spend $100 gazillion on awards this year? How do you guys make those decisions?
I'll chime in. You know, as a small agency, we do earmark a certain amount of budget per year for American Advertising Award entries, but also it is work driven as well. If we don't have the work to enter, you know, we don't spend that budget. If we have more work, we may go over our budget. It just really depends on the quantity of work we feel is worthy of entering.
I can tip in here too, just from Swanson Russell's perspective. We don't set a specific budget each year. I think, like Daryl, a little bit, you know, we let the work guide our investment. But I think the other way that we look at it is the effort that we put into, I guess, curating the entries and that process, not only the hard costs, but the labor costs of agency time that go into that. We try and really, you know, get good ROI for that, for other things at the agency, whether, you know, the work that goes into creating those entries and making that work look so good, it's already ready to be used on our website or new business mailings or, you know, pitches or things like that. And so we really try to have a mindset that, like, yeah, there is this investment for all the reasons we've kind of talked about already, but look what also we're going to get out of that from an agency perspective. And we try to keep our eyes set on that also.
You know, Lisa, that is such a great remark. We do the exact same thing. This is our chance to actually prepare everything for our agency portfolio and have it on hand for RFPs and whatever the need might be. So it does serve dual roles as we're entering. Great.
Yeah, and I will add, so I agree with everything. I always joke in the office that the only way I get a case study is award entries. So that definitely is a true statement. But I see Anne asked in the panel, or the question over here, if the budget, we do a pass through for like client billing, or if the investment is out of like agency profit. At least from our perspective, like similar to Daryl, it's part of like our operating budget just in general. We don't bill it to any specific client. We don't do any of that because we don't know whether or not, you know, we'll want to enter a specific client. So like, we don't kind of put that up front. We do it kind of at the end. So we have like an awards budget, and how we divvy that out between various awards, because obviously there's PRSA and there's AMA and there's AAF and all the things. And so we don't earmark anything specifically just for ADDYs, but as we're going, you know, through the year or through the budget, ADDYs tends to be December. And so we kind of just make sure that we know kind of where we're at throughout the whole year. It's kind of an ongoing conversation, an ongoing decision as to what we enter, where we enter it, so that we can make sure that we have the dollars where we want them throughout the year, I guess. That's where we're at.
So Lisa Lorraine, Dan Cooper, Daryl Anderson, make sure all the names, so you know Lisa knows which Lisa we're talking to. Who gets to make the final call? Is there a committee, or is it the person in the creative person, or is it, do you just bring Lisa Conklin in and say, what do you think, Lisa?
Well, typically what we do is we kind of put together our wish list of like, here's the 50 entries, here's the 70 entries, here are the 100 entries that we want to enter, and then have, you know, CEO say yes or no. as a creative director, oftentimes if we feel really passionate about something, we'll definitely plead our case. But it's kind of like one of those things, if maybe you put them in order as far as the things that you think stand the best chance of getting recognition, and then kind of just prioritize, like, okay, out of these 60 things you have, we've got budget for 40, narrow it down. So definitely, it's just like the agency world, working together with other people to make those decisions.
I mean, our process, it starts very inclusively. We announce kind of the start of the season to everybody at the agency, not just in the creative department, but even those outside of the department, so they know about the timing. We welcome any suggestions from any of our staff. And then creative leadership is usually the team that kind of looks at, like, what do we have? What do we think has the best chance of winning? What are we really excited about? We share a lot of things internally in the agency throughout the year. What has our staff been excited about? What kind of reaction have we been getting internally? What are we championing, as a creative staff within our own walls? And that usually helps us inform some of the decision making that comes at the end too. And I saw that somebody asked a question about our entry submissions specifically. And the question in the chat was that I think the question was, are the entries as part of a design project? And I would say no. They are. There's a group of us that is familiar with the process every year, small group, and there's just efficiency with knowing how that collection process works, how the entry process works, the uploading and things like that. So there's a group that works on that every year. Sometimes the people who were part of those projects are on that group. Sometimes those align, sometimes it doesn't. But with regard to our highly curated or highly crafted entries, I would say what is really important to us is the philosophy about how much care we handle the entries in which we're entering. A lot of the projects that we're entering, I'm involved, I didn't work on it, but it's really important for me that we curate those entries and showcase them in a way that really shows respect to the teams at our agency that put the effort into that. Jase mentioned this earlier about like showing all of the pieces and showing it different ways and making sure that it looks clean and it looks the best it possibly can. That's a really important sentiment, I think, that has led to maybe some of our success as well. It's not, the work is good, and the way that we can, position it best is to make it look the best that it can. And that's a real heavy obligation we feel as being part of this process. So we take that to heart each year also.
Excellent. Daryl, anything to add on that?
Yeah, once again, coming from a small agency, it starts as a very collaborative process. The team all submits what they think are worthy submissions. And that, will come from our digital and social group, from our production group, to our TV and editing group, our media team. And then we compile that and kind of decide collectively what the strongest entries are, and then whittle those down and then send them up to the head boss for the final checkoff.
You mean you're not the head boss?
The guy with the name on the door is still the head boss.
Gotcha. So one of the things that I would encourage anybody who's considering entering to try to address some of these questions is, nowadays, most AAF clubs have websites where the previous year's winners are posted. So it is very useful to go through there and take a look at that and see, okay, what kind of work is winning? What's winning in this market? What's winning there? I found that to be very useful and less intimidating than going to one show or the Clios or anything like that, where the work is at just such a completely different level. So yeah, take a look at your local market though. You guys are, if you're in the creative business, you probably have a pretty good eye. You're a good judge. And to echo something I think Dan said, take a risk, enter it. Don't prejudge yourself too much, because there's a lot of great work out there, and also a lot of us in this business are our own worst critics. oh, this is no good. Oh, this is crap, blah, blah, blah. You know what? If you have the money, if you can invest it, then yes, absolutely, take it out. So that's, I think mostly what I have today. We've got about 5 minutes left. So if anybody has any other questions, post them in the over in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to Aaron, who is going to wrap things up for us for today.
Yes, I will wrap things up. Oops, oh great. Script gone. Wonderful. Okay, so thanks guys. Yeah, this was super, super helpful. And I think, as we're, everyone's kind of looking to enter the American Advertising Awards, your thought leadership has been really valuable for this. And to that point, if anyone needs assistance as you're preparing for the awards, please make sure you're contacting the AAF Omaha office. We'll help you navigate that entry process, or get you in touch with, the Lincoln office as well. But make sure that you're taken care of. And as David said, I'm Erin Berman. I am an owner and brand strategist at Folk Branding. I serve on the AAF Board of Directors as the co-chair of professional development and programs with Jenny Allenbaugh from Anderson Partners. Jenny and I work on events like this throughout the year. And speaking of, I guess, some of those member benefits that I think a lot of the team had talked about before, we do have 2 member perk awards today to talk about. James Riley from Express Dock and Kaylin Peterson from Swanson Russell. Both have won $5 scooter gift cards thanks to our member perks partners at Scooters. So Kaylin and James, your gift cards will be mailed to you. We also want to thank our elite sponsor from Centro for their generosity to AAF Omaha throughout the year. And if anyone is looking for sponsorship opportunities to reach our advertising, marketing, communications community, also contact the AAF Omaha office for some of those opportunities. And then register today for AAF Omaha's annual holiday special. Our virtual live interactive party will take place on December 15th at 5:30 this year. Our online silent auction will go live on December 4th with bidding through December 15th. And our membership team and board members have secured many silent auction and raffle items. This will be an event that you definitely don't want to miss. And the online auction is filled with media items, gift cards, restaurants, area attractions, wine and specialty baskets, electronics, a lot of stuff. I've bought way too much stuff throughout the silent auction over the years, but they're great deals. So all holiday special virtual attendees will be given a chance to win a smart TV. And this year, a portion of the virtual holiday party proceeds will help support AAF Omaha's public service partner, the Refugee Empowerment Center. So that's a big deal. That's something that we feel very strongly about supporting in our community. So if you want to register and reserve your virtual seat, you go to aafomaha.org. And then finally, just talk a little bit about this year's Meet the Pros, because I know we've got some students on the line. We recently announced the Meet the Pros 2021 will be held on March 1st and 2nd. And this year, after a lot of consideration, our student conference will be held virtually, as you may have guessed. But so students, please watch for updates on the program outline and agenda. And professionals, if you would like to get involved as a speaker or give a virtual tour of your agency or business or participate in virtual portfolio reviews, reach out and let us know. And then let us know if you would like to be a Meet the Pro sponsor. So, it's a good visibility, highly visible sponsorship that we offer. And there's a lot of virtual sessions and complete sponsor outlines out there for you to consider. So again, I made that really fast so we can get out of here before 1. But thank you so much, everyone, all of our panelists and all of our attendees for making this a successful event. And again, reach out with any questions. But we appreciate everyone's time.
Panelists, if you could stay on for a couple of minutes, we're going to take a screenshot of you if you don't mind.
Got it.
And it looks like no one has answered Kim Geyer's question. Does anybody know anything about the AIGA show this year?
I've heard they are not having one.
Okay. All the more reason to enter the American Advertising Awards.
Right, perfect.
Okay, I'm gonna grab a photo, so I will give you guys the countdown.
I think everybody, should we go off mute and go into gallery mode?
Oh, I think you're good. I have you guys in gallery mode, so my
Oh,
screen
okay.
will be good. Sorry, I'm adding you to the bigger group there, David. Okay, everybody ready? And oh shoot. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Dan, you blinked. I'm sorry to call you out. But can't have you blink. Let's see here. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Okay, you guys look great. Thank you.
Okay, I have one more thing. I have to ask everyone, do I have your permission? Your names appear at the bottom. Do I have your permission when we put us up on YouTube? Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
We'll,
Yeah.
we'll-
As long as I get my standard AAF